What is the internal assessment? How should I approach it? What articles can I choose? Which key concepts should I use? How many diagrams should I draw? How many terms must I define? All this and more right here in this episode. For DP1 students starting your school year in August or September, by now you should have already completed and submitted the first draft of your IA1. Some of you might have already received your first feedback from your teacher or are in the process of completing your final draft. This video is for you. For those of you who haven't or are currently in the process of writing your first draft of your IA1 or IA2, this video will still help you, especially if you haven't read the guide yet. This video includes how to choose your article, which key concept to use, the 1-year rule, the word limit, and the submissions requirements, etc. Now in part 2 of this video series, I will show you step by step how to write the IA. Is there possibly a template you can use to approach the IA, whatever the topic or key concept you use? What is the best structure to use to write the IA in relation to the article? How do you score the highest band for each criterion? And more. So subscribe to the channel to get notified of new videos when they are uploaded. This is the IB Economics Guide. This guide tells you everything you need to know about the requirements of the IA, the weight towards your final grade, formatting requirements, submission requirements, and more. If you do not have this document or do not know that there is a guide to every subject in the IB diploma, then you should get it from your DP coordinator or your teacher. Of course, you can always search for it. Note also that the version shown here is for First Assessment 2024. Some of you might be using or come across another version for First Assessment 2022. This 2024 version is the latest version, so do use the right one. Now let's dive right in. The internal assessment is on page 67 of the guide. This video will go through each section as is titled in the document. What I've done here is I've highlighted those parts which are important. They are statements or requirements you must know for the IA. The highlight can also help you quickly refer back to this document as you begin your work. The subparts we are covering are purpose, authenticity, time allocation, assessment criteria or how your teacher marked your work, and the all-important internal assessment details, which includes rationale, units of the syllabus, the choice of articles, the language of the articles and the commentary, and question about collaboration and whether the same article can be used by more than one student, key concepts, formatting requirements, word limit, and how the criterion or the rubric is applied. This will be covered in a separate video. Now let's get started. Purpose. So what does the IB expect students to do for the internal assessment? The IA is basically a piece of work for the student to demonstrate the application of their skills and knowledge that they obtain from the 2 years economics course and apply them into the real world. For example, on news articles about economic events around the world. Now more on this later. Next, authenticity. Basically, this just means that you write your own work. Now, I've got a case in my career where a parent wrote a majority of a student's extended essay. Yes, extended essay. Now, this is a no-no, like a big no. The IA has a clear policy on academic integrity. Moreover, your language and the way you write can be easily picked up by your teacher because the way you write, the language, the words, the grammar used is clearly different compared to another person, whether it's the parent, a tutor, or someone else. Your teacher who would have been marking your essays and other work, especially for tests and other time assessments, where you do not have access to the internet and are not allowed to complete it outside of class, well, that work is, or the language that you use would be yours because you have no further help. So what you write, how you normally write is very recognizable. Now, what about the question of using AI and translation software? Some schools or countries ban them or are not available in some regions, while some schools do not ban them and are available. Now, if you use AI, you'll find that likely it often uses very big words that, frankly, no one uses them. I've had a recent case where an MYP student was asked to redo her work because the case is not substantially hers, and she cannot properly explain what those points she wrote were and why she wrote it the way she did. The key word is that the work is your own, meaning to say that while you can seek advice from teachers, parents, tutors, and software, you must still treat them as ideas that you may choose to use and still write them yourself in the same way that your thought processes work. Next, how much advice or feedback should teachers provide to you for your work? Now, according to the guide here, teachers can provide oral or written feedback, but must not edit the draft. This means that teacher can only provide feedback once on a piece of completed work, on the draft. Prior to the submission of the draft, most teachers would hold discussions or consultations with the students or teach or go through the requirements or provide their opinions on the suitability of the articles initially selected by some students. Now, this is part of the normal 20 hours teachers are expected to deliver the IA part of the course. Finally, once you have submitted your 3 final drafts, your teacher will be most likely turning in to the DP coordinator who will submit into IBIS, and to the IB, of course. Your work cannot be retracted. This is the final version of your work. You cannot have buyer's remorse or submission remorse. You must make any changes prior to submitting your IA portfolio or 3 articles. Next, time allocation. As mentioned earlier, schools are expected to spend about 20 hours in delivering the IA. Since there are 3 commentaries, this means an average of about 6 for each IA, which in many schools equal to 3 or 4 lessons or about a week's worth of lessons. Depending on schools, some teachers may set it as formative or summative work and give it 1 or 2 weeks for the students for the draft and the final to be completed and submitted. I know some schools provide ample amount of time for submission. For example, IA1 was set sometime in January, and the teacher only expected the work to be submitted in May or June prior to the holidays. Each school works differently, so follow the directions of your teacher. Next, assessment criteria. This is about how teachers mark your work. The keyword highlighted here is the best fit approach. First, I need to clarify that the mark given, although numeric, is not similar to a 1 to 10 or 1 to 100 mark. The mark given, as with all IB subjects, is tied to a descriptor for that number. The descriptor is the one that teachers must use to match your level of competence to those words used in that descriptor. Therefore, the quality of your work that best matches that descriptor will determine your mark or level. Notice also that there is no such thing as 0.5 marks, for example. If your teacher feels your work is between that of the 2 descriptors, he or she cannot assign an in-between mark. She must assign either the one above or the one below. How teachers do this is more an art rather than a science, and it comes from experience. Notice also that the highest level descriptors do not imply faultless performance. In fact, the IB intends that top descriptors to be achievable by all and any student. If your level of work is best described by that descriptor, you should get the mark. Many teachers coming from a percentage marking system finds it difficult to switch to this style of marking early in their IB career. Well, including myself. It was through the regular and frequent discussions I had with more experienced teachers that I learned to apply the descriptors correctly. Well, that was a long time ago for me. And now I'm pretty comfortable with all the descriptors. And now, the all-important assessment details. First, let's go through some hard requirements. You can see here the weighting for the standard level is 30% and for higher level is 20%. So on a per mark basis, out of 45 marks for the IA, 1 mark in standard level will contribute 0.66%, and for higher level, 1 mark will contribute 0.44%. This means that the IA is more important to the standard level. Number 1, each commentary and each article must be based on a different unit of the syllabus. In this case, Unit 2, Microeconomics, Unit 3, Macroeconomics, and Unit 4, the Global Economy. So all except Unit 1, Introduction to Economics. This means that you cannot write 2 commentaries on, say, micro or 3 on macro. One must be micro, one must be macro, and one must be on the global economy. So follow instructions. And like units, a different key concept must be used for each commentary. It clearly highlights here that if you do not use a different key concept, marks will be lost. For example, if you use a key concept twice, you will get 0 for criterion D in the second commentary, hence not being awarded or losing 3 marks. If you use the same key concept for all 3 commentaries, then you get 0 in criterion D for the second and third IA, hence losing 6 marks altogether. Please, please, please do not shortchange yourself. Next, each article must be from a different source. This usually means a different media company for each article. But this is easily complied with. If you found an article for your IA2 or IA3 that is using the same source as IA1, all you need to do is to use the title of that article or use similar words to search for articles from other news providers. The 1-year rule. The published date of the article selected must not be earlier than 1 year before your commentary is written. We will see this in the formatting requirements later. Next, word limit. The maximum number of words per commentary is 800. Moderators and your teachers are not expected to read beyond 800 for each commentary. Now, this is shown on page 70 of the guide, and it shows what is included and what is not included right here. So let's go through. First, acknowledgement. It is not necessary at all. Do not even think about it. In the past, some students would include acknowledgements to thank their teachers. Well, we appreciate your kind thoughts, but it is not necessary. Next, contents page is also not necessary. Do not include. Next, diagrams. Diagrams are not included in the word count as there are no words. However, labels of diagrams, for example, on the 2-axis, should be 5 words or less, else it will be included in the word count. Similarly, headings or titles should be 10 words or fewer. Tables are not included, but if it is part of the article, then it is not in the commentary. You can just refer to the table and data in your commentary. Equations, formula, and calculations may be inserted or referred to in the article. Citations here means in-text citations. For example, using MLA, you can just use parentheses on the author or author's names. References here refer to bibliography or works cited page or footnotes or endnotes. And finally, definitions must be given in the body of the commentary and not in footnotes or endnotes. And number 6, the formatting requirements. Above, you can see here, you need to have the 7 items here. The date published and the date written is to determine the 1-year rule. In addition, different schools and teachers direct their students to include the article differently. Some require their students to copy and paste the article into the commentary from the news website. Some ask their students to print the news out separately. Now, I use Safari or Chrome to print out a beautifully formatted article into PDF, on which I can then highlight the points I am using in my commentary. Want to learn how? Well, subscribe to the channel. Well, that's it for this video. In the next video, I will go through the last part of the IA guide, which is the criteria. I will go through what each descriptor means for each criterion, and how you can reach the highest band of each criterion. I will also go through how to select suitable articles for each commentary and which key concept to use for each unit, and what topics to use for each commentary, and more. So watch out for our next video in this IA series. Subscribe to the channel for more high-quality content on IB Economics. See you soon.